Hi, I'm Aaron Brothers, Director of Music Ministry at Dixon United Methodist Church. As we recover from a Thanksgiving where I hope you had plenty, a safe place, and warm and well people to share with, it is time to look ahead. Tomorrow begins the new Christian year, Advent, a time to prepare for God's most precious gift, the Christ child. I feel like I keep using the subject of this past year and its hardships as a subject crutch. One of the few things we as a global society have in common is this pandemic, so it's an easy thing to relate to in a very unfortunate way. But this infinite love of God, the gift of a Savior, is also one of those few things in the most fortunate way possible. When Paul was in prison and writing letters to the leaders and people of regions he had visited, he often wrote of this gift, but in this particular letter to Ephesus, he writes of its infinite nature. Chapter 3, verses 14 through 19, Paul writes, "This is why I kneel before God. Every ethnic group in heaven or on earth is recognized by God. I ask that God will strengthen you in your inner selves from the riches of his glory through the Spirit. I ask that Christ will live in your hearts through faith. As a result of having strong roots in love, I ask that you'll have the power to grasp love's width and length, height and depth, together with all believers. I ask that you'll know the love of Christ that is beyond knowledge, so that you will be filled entirely with the fullness of God." God recognizes all people. Faith has the strongest roots in love. And as much as Paul asks that we have the power to grasp the gift of love God gave us, it's impossible. Paul puts it in terms of geometry, something spatial that we might picture with height and depth, length and width. But the proportions that we have the capacity to see with our limited imaginations may not ever grasp the true grandiosity of God's love. And yet, God sent us something we can all fathom, a baby. Such tiny proportions, so precious and fragile. And this little infant that we are getting ready for, is our only way of comprehending infinity. Love with no boundaries, forgiveness to come for our broken humanity, promise of new life, the power to grasp love's width and length, height and depth, the love of Christ that is just beyond knowledge. And because of this journey, the preparation for a time with no famine, no poverty, no wars, and even just the attempt to understand infinity, we can be filled entirely with the fullness of God.